No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show presented by Play Now. Along with Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here to discuss what seemed like it was going to be a relatively easy Winnipeg Jets victory. But that's why they play 60 full minutes plus a few extras of the game to determine the winner. And the Anaheim Ducks, the scrappy, Anaheim Ducks kept chipping away and fighting back at it, and they end up defeating the Winnipeg Jets by a 4-3 margin in overtime, Ezzy. A game that the Jets did a lot of good things in, I would say. Possessed the puck, as you would expect them to. But the Anaheim Ducks are just one of those teams that are going to work, as evidenced by their victory tonight and their victory over the Edmonton Oilers most recently. And before that, their victory over the New Jersey Devils, all of whom, by the way, are three top teams in the NHL.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Drew, the Jets get the 2-0 lead. They get the early goal, the very early goal, just over 30 seconds in. By Mark Scheifele, and everything was looking good. And I would agree, they were the better possession team in this game. They had the better scoring chances in this game.
Yeah.
But give the Ducks credit. Like, it was just over 2 weeks ago, December 18th, that Troy Terry scored late and the Ducks upset the Jets 3-2 on the road, right? So,
yeah. As
you mentioned, the Ducks are playing some decent hockey. They're obviously not going to be a playoff team this year, but there's a lot of good young talent. Like, I've said this to you before. I've said this on the post-game show, that Jackson Lacombe, like, I think he's
real
that
nice
good
player.
That he could be on the 2026 American Olympic team. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm just saying that I think he's that good. I really think that, he's been impressive out of Minnesota, right? So, yeah, I mean, look, the Jets had their chances. Nick Ehlers had a couple chances right before Troy Terry scored. I'm still trying to figure out why the whistle wasn't blown when the net. I thought that was an automatic whistle when the net goes off.
No, the Ducks are in possession. They're transitioning up the ice. I can understand. Look, I understand why fans are upset, especially after John Gibson accidentally on purpose slides into the net to knock it off while the Jets are in possession. And so I can understand why people would expect the quid pro quo that there'd be a quick whistle. But the rules dictate that Anaheim is in possession. They're transitioning up the ice. There's no reason to blow that play dead in that exact instance.
Like you said, Drew, if the Jets would have taken control back of the puck and the net was still off, then it would have been whistled down. But you're right. The Ducks had possession of the puck. That's why it wasn't whistled down. You could see on the broadcast, there were a lot of Jets fans that were like me, wondering why the whistle wasn't blown. But you're right. I mean, that is the rule. And obviously, discipline wasn't the issue for the Jets tonight. They didn't take any penalties, unlike Team Canada. I thought maybe tonight, Drew, we were just going to do a summit, like a World Junior Hockey Summit, and talk about the Canadians being defeated in the quarterfinals for the second year in a row. But I'm joking. Obviously, a very, very disappointing loss to Czechia. But, give Czechia full marks. They're a good hockey team. But we're sticking to the Jets and Ducks tonight. So, I mean, unfortunate that the Jets don't get the bonus point. But, I mean, that's a reminder that in today's NHL, really anything can happen. On paper, the Jets are a much better team than the Ducks. But, we talked about Jackson Lacombe. Like, Radko Gudas scores the tying goal. Jacob Trouba provides the screen.
Here's Scott Arniel. So let's bring in Jets head coach Scott Arniel.
Scott, how did you feel things turned in that game after the 2-0 lead?
Yeah, I thought our second period was probably our worst period. I thought the first we were great. We had all kinds of opportunities and, got the lead. And then second period, we really kind of, through the neutral zone, turned some pucks over, kind of let them get in some rush situations. And, then the third went out and dominated the third. And, we got the lead again late and, gave up that one. So there's a little bit of that, I think a little bit of the mental side of things, 4-6, not using it as an excuse, but when you start seeing those kind of mistakes, it has to drop into there somehow.
Is it something about the way they play that's made them difficult to hold that team down?
They're a young group that's got a lot of speed. They transition really well. Kind of watched them do it against Edmonton and New Jersey this last week, and if you're going to make mistakes, they're going to capitalize. And I think there's a young team that's had some veterans. They're trying to, they're trying to play a certain way. And tonight, I thought we fed them with some of the mistakes we made, gave them some opportunities.
You've talked in the past about the depth that Kevin Shoveldayoff has accumulated. You feel a little bit spoiled having a guy like Alex Iafallo to move up the lineup the way you do and perform the way he does?
Yeah, you need that. Obviously, he's been pretty patient. He's done it last year for us, but he's been patient this year. And whenever I've needed him, he's jumped in and done the job. And that's what he needs to do now. And that was a big goal that he scored.
Scott, what went to the center flip for the third, and what did you see from both lines?
They're just face-offs. It was. Two reasons. One was the face-off allow so that flying Fetz could start with the puck a little bit more. Then secondly, that also put Lau in a situation. We had the puck and it was a lot in their end. I wanted him around the front of the net, being a big body, and so it was kind of then Vladdy to go with those other guys. I thought they were good too. Obviously scored a big goal, but it was just kind of trying to get some size there on that line.
And then on the OT, do you think the net being off caused any confusion at all with the rush?
Nope, that's the league rule. That's the rushing team, the attacking team knocks the net off. Obviously, the team that's defending has a chance to take off and go, and that's the rules. Thanks.
Short and sweet tonight from the Winnipeg Jets head coach, Scott Arniel.
I wasn't expecting it to be that short, Drew. That's got to be the shortest post-game presser of the year so far.
Yeah, I think it speaks to the fact that it's a game. There's not a lot I think you're going to discern from this game. There's not a lot you're going to delve deep in here. It's a disappointing end result. I don't think Connor Hellebuck has his best game of all time tonight. The Jets, by and large, play okay. At best, I would give them okay. And Anaheim is opportunistic and takes advantage of things and comes away with the victory. I mean, look, you heard from the Jets head coach himself there. Everybody was saying, blow the whistle, the net should have been off. Blow the whistle, the net should have been off. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to Ezzy. Listen to the Jets head coach. He says that's the league called it exactly like they're supposed to call it. And that's what happened. And it's unfortunate that Nikolai Ehlers doesn't end it before then, because he has a golden opportunity that Nikolai Ehlers usually takes advantage of. John Gibson, reminded everybody that he's a damn good goaltender. And you know what?
He'll be traded before the trade deadline.
He should be. I mean, you got Lucas Dostal, who's also a pretty good goaltender there. Yep. So it's not like you'd be bereft of goaltending if you're from the Anaheim Ducks perspective. You know what I like about the Ducks, Ezzy? They have a identity, they have a strategy, and they implement it. They play their 1-3-1. It's pretty boring. It's not the most exciting. They don't score a lot of goals, but at least they're building something there.
Exactly.
And that's what you need to do with a young team, is you need to build something. You need to build an identity. You need to build a structure there. And at least the Anaheim Ducks are doing that as they try and get away from being the dregs of the NHL.
And Troy Terry is maybe unofficially right now the new Jets killer.
Yeah.
Unbelievable that he's done it twice in 15 or 16 days here. But you're absolutely right. I mean, we mentioned it earlier. It's a valiant effort by the Ducks. They're not going to be a playoff team this year, but they're heading in the right direction. And whether it's Leo Carlson, whether it's Pavel Mintyukov on the back end, they've got a lot of good young players. I'm hesitant to say Cutter Gauthier, but I'll say Cutter Gauthier.
Well, he's another one a high draft pick at the very least with Cutter Gauthier.
He's got a lot of potential. He's got a high ceiling for a 5th overall draft pick, right? So
Trevor Zegras not even in the lineup tonight.
No, Zegras is not in the lineup, and
a guy who's allegedly might not be. You hear his name bandied about as being on the trade block because he wasn't drafted by this regime that's in charge in Anaheim. So there's a lot of people who are saying the point, reading some tea leaves that maybe Zegras won't be there for a long period of time.
Yeah, it's possible. I feel like those rumors have been around for a couple of years now, right, Drew? Wasn't there the Zegras to Montreal rumor? I feel like everybody's rumored to go to Montreal at some point in their career, but I mean, I see a lot of people upset in the chat, that the Jets weren't able to beat an inferior opponent, but it goes back to sometimes you have to just say that, you had a lot of opportunities. You controlled the pace of play in the third period. And, it's funny because Scott Arniel mentioned he didn't like the second period. Weren't the shots 12-4 or something like that for the Jets? Like, I really thought that, again,
12-4 in the second period. But
I thought Drew, when Iafallo scored that goal, I thought, okay, that's the game winner. Jets. Wow. It's not the most impressive win, but it's still a win. And the Ducks come right back a minute later, and it's a little bit of a weak goal, but I honestly don't think Hellebuck saw it. Trouba was providing the screen. Gudas has got a hard shot, and again, once it gets to overtime, it's a coin flip. So again, I don't think these are things that Jets fans, you don't really want to hear this from me. I'm not making excuses, but really, that's the way hockey is sometimes. Sometimes, John Gibson was better than Hellebuck tonight. Let's be perfectly honest. And 99% of the time, Hellebuck is better than whatever goalie he's facing.
Yeah, wasn't his best game. There's flaw. There were flaws in the Jets game tonight, and they still almost overcame those flaws to get the 2 points in regulation or even the 2 points in overtime. But, nothing about the Jets game tonight is something that they're going to point to and say, this is really how we want to be. This is how we want to play. I'm sure they're happy that they don't have to see Anaheim until the end of the regular season at this point in time. For whatever reason, Anaheim's one of those teams that seems to match up pretty decently against the Winnipeg Jets. The Jets should be able to beat them. They should be able to get 4 points against them. So far this year, they've only been able to get 1 of the 4 available points. And that, from the Jets' perspective, is certainly probably an unfortunate reality.
Well, now the chat is starting to come along with me here. We got Bailey, the unofficial intern, saying that any team can win on any given night. And we got Sparky here saying the exact same thing, but that's the reality. And again, Jets fans don't want to hear that because Jets fans want the team to win every single night. And early in the season, they were doing that, going 15-1 in their first 16 games. But, it's tough to win in the NHL. And again, sometimes the team that deserves to win doesn't win. And in tonight's game, you could say that the Jets deserve to win, but Gibson made some big saves, and they got it to overtime, like you mentioned. Nick Ehlers had 2 really good chances. I thought the Jets controlled the pace of play, and they were the better team in the overtime. But Troy Terry comes back down, and he's a great player. He's the
what do you
Ducks
think
leading scorer.
Decision, in overtime to go for the net drive there? What do you think of that? This has been an overtime. That by and large is just.
I didn't think Perfetti had a good game tonight.
I did not think he had a good game tonight, and we'll get to some of his shortcomings when we do the play now game recap, the goal by goal recap. But what did you think about Perfetti sort of deciding to go hard at the net in that instance? When really most of the overtime has been about cycling and possession and holding on to the puck at that point.
Well, it's not really his game, right? And I think that's what you're kind of angling at here, right, Drew? Like, Perfetti's game is a patient game where he likes to watch the play develop, find his spots, whether it's setting up his teammate or letting a shot go, creating space for himself, right? But, I mean, it is overtime, right? So I like to see aggressive play in overtime. It honestly didn't work out, and I meant to say obviously didn't work out, not honestly. I think I'm pretty honest most of the time, right, Drew? But and that particular play, it didn't really work out, and it ended up costing the Jets. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're out there to score, right? So I just didn't think he had a great game. I think, when Perfetti's at his best, we talked about it. He's got great vision. He's got great hands. He's got a good shot. I just think he gets lost in the play a little bit too much. Mm-hmm. And clearly that line, and that's something that we're going to be talking about a lot on the Saturday show, a lot on the post-game shows. The Jets need for a second-line center. I think Vlad Nemestikov's done an admirable job up till this point, but that line is just, it's not producing enough for an NHL second line. The first line, let's be honest here, is carrying this team right now. Yes, they got contributions from Adam Lowry and Alex Iafallo, the third line, or whatever you want to call it, 2A, 2B, but that Nemestikov, Perfetti, Ehlers line, they're just, I mean, with the exception of Ehlers.
Ehlers is the only one as of late who's been noticeable out there. I would agree. I mean, that's a problem. You can't have, Vlad Nemestikov, we know, is playing over his head, but you need to see more signs of development from Cole Perfetti. And again, you see it in flashes, and then there's the plateaus are so significant and almost lengthy. They're too lengthy.
Right.
They need to be, you can have an off night. You can have 2 off nights. It happens. It's inevitable. We see it from even the best players in the league where they're not going for a couple games in a row for whatever reason, but then they find a way to do it. Cole Perfetti disappears for too many games in a row. And tonight was not a very good one. I thought that on a couple of different plays, he wasn't on his toes like he needs to be when he's at his best.
Right, and some people are pointing out that Nemesnikov is injured, and that was mentioned on the broadcast. That might be, for those who maybe are joining us late who weren't watching the whole third period, there was a flip. Head coach Scott Arniel did flip Lowry and Nemesnikov, but then he went back to the original line, so it didn't last the whole period. But that might have something to do with it. Arniel mentioned after the game that they were trying to win more faceoffs because Lowry is a better faceoff guy than Nemesnikov, right?
Well, Nemesnikov, didn't they say that he hasn't taken a faceoff? Kevin Sawyer said he hasn't taken a faceoff in, I think he said 4 games on the broadcast. Now, I mean, I have to fact check if that's accurate because that's a long time for your second line center to not be taking a faceoff. But again, we know that Vlad Nemesnikov is not supposed to be a second line center. This is not news. It's been 2 years worth of that, and he does as good of a job as he can in that instance. But that's why he needs, a Cole Perfetti to be more impactful. Why he needs a Nikolai Ehlers to be more impactful. That's asking a lot of Ehlers at this point, of course. But if your second line center is not designed to be a second line center, well, then your left wing and your right wing better be damn good to make up for that.
I would agree with that 100%, Drew. Hopefully you've got some water there. It looks like that cold is still lingering a little bit.
Yeah.
And I told you right before we went live, I feel like I'm getting a cold, so I'm going to have to obviously
drink. We're both going to hydrate during the post-game show.
Yeah, I've got some water here as well.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's an issue for this team. And, sometimes when you're winning hockey games, you can get away with that. But I think going forward, that's something that needs to be addressed, whether that's changing up these lines and maybe you see Lowry there in the short term. I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of intriguing, that line, to be honest with you. Lowry up the middle with Ehlers and Perfetti. But I just don't see that being anything that it's not a long-term fix. To me, that's just putting Lowry there and hoping, you catch lightning in a bottle, as you say all the time, Drew.
For a game or a couple periods or something, just to give a bit of a juice. You're right. I mean, I don't think look, the search for a second line center has been ongoing for years at this point in time. And you wonder if do they give Brad Lambert another shot at it? Because Lord knows that the Manitoba Moose, well, let's be honest, folks, and Dave's not here, so he won't cry if when I say it, but the Moose are pretty terrible. So you wonder.
Well, they're last place in the AHL right now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The Moose are pretty terrible. So you wonder if it's actually detrimental to the development of a guy like Brad Lambert and Nikita Chibrikov to continue to playing in that kind of disaster of a team right now.
Well, I know it also begs the question: where would you be without those guys on the team? Because those are 2 of their best offensive players, right? So if those guys were up with the Jets luckily don't have that many injuries at forward. Obviously, Mason Appleton's the big one right now, right? But if you didn't have Lambert and Chibrikov, I mean, you can't get any worse than last place in the American Hockey League. But it's been a rough year. I mean, look at the Moose; they can't score, and they're having trouble keeping the puck out of their own net, and they've had goaltending issues, right? Thomas Milic is having a bit of a sophomore slump. Capo Kakinen, the game that I was at, he allowed 5 goals against Texas, and a couple of them were pretty weak. So again, I still think Kakinen is a guy that can probably be a backup at the NHL level, but it's not just 1 or 2 things. Like, it's not just, you can't just point to 1 or 2 things that are wrong with the Moose. It's been, again, I'm being charitable when I say this, it's been a rough year for them. They're losing a lot of hockey games.
A rough year indeed. A rough game tonight for the Winnipeg Jets as they drop the 4-3 overtime decision to the Anaheim Ducks. Let's get into the goal-by-goal recap. We do it here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. It's brought to you by our friends at Play Now.
The Play Now game recap.
The Play Now game recap. Don't bet on illegal sites. Bet with Play Now instead. Manitoba's local, legal, and secure gambling site. 18 plus. Enjoy responsibly. Big thanks to our friends at Play Now for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show, as well as the Illegal Curve hockey show. Winnipeg Jets, well, you wanted them to come out flying. You knew that they were going to be disappointed with how they last lost to the Anaheim Ducks and their loss on New Year's Eve to the Colorado Avalanche. So they opened the scoring 33-second game. Mark Scheifele, his 23rd of the season assist to Kyle Connor and Gabe Vilardi. And it's just a great forecheck. It starts by a great forecheck by Gabe Vilardi.
Yep.
He steals the puck from Radko Gudas. We know what Gudas is at this point. He's the captain of the Anaheim Ducks, big physical defenseman. Not
He had
the
a night.
Yeah, he had a night. You know what? You always notice Radko Gudas. For better or worse, I like the game that he brings to the table. He'd
almost look good in a Jets uniform. Not saying that's going to happen, but
he's the captain of the Ducks, so I don't expect.
No, I know,
it to
but
happen,
I'm just saying,
yeah.
he's the type of player I think, veteran, physical. He's got a little bit of an offensive touch. Just saying,
some snarl on the back end.
Yeah.
There's a lot to like about his game. You know when he's on the ice. And usually he is not as wild as he used to be. He's more controlled now that he's more of a veteran. But on this play, he gets exposed by Gabe Vilardi. Vilardi gets the pass over to Connor. Connor with great patience to find Mark Scheifele. And Mark Scheifele is able to tuck it past a sprawled out John Gibson to give the Jets the 1-0 lead at the 33-second mark.
Drew, you mentioned the forecheck by Gabe Vilardi, which is obviously creates this whole goal, right? But it's just beautiful passing. It's a nice pass by Gabe Vilardi to Kyle Connor, and it's just a beautiful backhand pass by Kyle Connor. And at this point in the game, I mean, it's the ice is it's still a clean sheet of ice, and it's exactly what you want. Sellout crowd. I believe that's the second sellout crowd in a row, right? Fifth of the season.
5 of the last 6, I believe, at this point.
5 of the last 6. So you've got the sellout crowd. You get their opening goal 33 seconds in, but you just love, again, that's why I'm in favor. And again, this is something that, can be debated, now that you're back on the Saturday show, Drew, but I think Gabe Vilardi is not just a one-trick pony. He's not just a power play specialist. This is a great example. He uses his big body and his great hands to take the puck away from Gudas and get it over to Connor, who gets it over to Scheifele. So this is just, again, a continuation of Gabe Vilardi's excellent season. I've been so impressed by him. He's rarely had a bad game this year, and that's exactly how you write it up in the dressing room. Right? Like that's what you want to do. Get in on the forecheck, cause a turnover, get the first line on the scoreboard early. That was a beautiful goal for sure.
Yeah, it was, to give the Jets the 1-0 lead nice and early in the game. And really sort of a dull first period after that. The Ducks had a couple of opportunities. Mason McTavish was left alone. Connor Hellebuyck made a nice save. Jansen Harkins and Ross Johnson, they had a good shift and a bit of a goal mouth scramble opportunity. There was that opportunity by Kyle Connor to Colin Miller on a bit of a 3-on-2 in the first period, but not a ton going on in that first period until late in the first period, where the Jets make it 2-0. And you think this is a big goal. You think this is the kind of goal that's going to, really deflate a team. But to the Ducks' credit, it doesn't. It's Adam Lowry, his 10th of the season, assist to Alex Iafallo and Josh Morrissey. And it's a 2-on-1, and it starts really with Morrissey collecting the puck behind Connor Hellebuyck, head manning it up, to Nino Niederreiter, who doesn't, in fact, get an assist on it. But Iafallo picks up the loose puck. He comes in 2-on-1 against Pavel Mintyukov. He slides it over to Adam Lowry, and really a great shot by Adam Lowry to sort of go cross body on John Gibson. Gibson's trying to move from his right to his left, and Lowry shoots it back over past Gibson on his right, sort of against the grain to make it 2-0 for the Winnipeg Jets. I'm also going to give this one our Seagram shot of the game.
The Seagram shot of the game.
Big thanks to our friends at Seagram's for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Whatever you're drinking, assuming you're not doing dry January, but if you are, that's good as well. You should still stock up on your Seagram's products in case, when dry January comes to an end, maybe Seagram's VO needs a spot on your shelf, masterfully blended, distinctly Canadian.
Yeah, and Drew, you mentioned Nino Niederreiter doesn't get an assist, but what he does, I think it was Frank Vetrano. I'm trying to just watch the replay and see if it was Frank Vetrano. Whoever it was, whether it was Vetrano or forward or a defenseman.
No, it was Drew Hellison.
Oh, it's Hellison. Okay, there you go. It's probably you knew that because his first name's Drew, right?
That's right. I have full awareness of everything anybody named Drew is ever doing.
I love it. So I mean, he does a nice job on Hellison, who is Mintyukov's partner, and does a nice job of tying up his stick, which allows the puck to go through to Iafallo. And what I love that Iafallo, this is kind of, I think, a little bit of maybe a sign of a rookie defenseman in Mintyukov. We already talked about him. He was a high draft pick. He's going to be an excellent defenseman in a few years. He already is very impressive, but Iafallo just does such a good job of shielding the puck and using his speed to get by Mintyukov. And it's a nice pass to Lowry, who comes in with a lot of speed, and it's just a well-placed shot, like you said, cross-body to the opposite side of the way he's going and the way Gibson's going, right to left. So it was a really impressive goal, and you wonder, again, this might be a Saturday morning topic, but Iafallo has been really impressive. You wonder, even when Appleton comes back, if he's a guy that maybe gets more looks on the third line. I realize that over the last couple years, it's been written in stone almost that it's Niederreiter, Lowry, Appleton, but I've really liked Alex Iafallo up there. And there's nothing to be ashamed of if Mason Appleton's on your fourth line. I'm just saying, Iafallo is hot hands. Really good. I mean, exactly. You can rotate in game or from game to game.
Yeah. I mean, the truth is they both play a very similar style. They're both, you're not going to skip a beat regardless of which one is out there at that point in time. So, I mean, even if I throw Morgan Barron into that as well. I thought he had a pretty good game tonight and has been more noticeable over the last 4, 5, 6 games than some of the previous games this year. You have these guys in your bottom 6 in Iafallo and Barron and Appleton, that you can sort of just cycle them through, constantly just trying to sort of throw something good at the wall, because they're only going to be they're all responsible players, and as a result, the Jets are comfortable with who is going to be out there.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I think once Appleton comes back, most likely he will be the winger on that line. Yeah, I just think Iafallo has been really impressive. I think once Iafallo is bumped up to a top 6 role, then that's when I think you see him struggle a little bit.
Yeah.
But on that Lowry and Niederreiter line, I thought Niederreiter was excellent tonight. I really did. Not just on that one play, but I was going to check his stat line to see how many shots. I want to say he had 3 or 4 shots on net. I'd have to confirm that. But hold on, give me a second here, Drew. If I can move those fingers quickly enough, I'll tell you how many shots he had on net. Nino Niederreiter had 6 shots on net tonight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was definitely.
I said 3 or 4, so apparently he had a couple more. But I thought that line was excellent. It's just, again, even if Nemesnikov's dealing with an injury, I mean, that's something that you have to address. Then, if he's not good enough to be in the lineup, maybe he shouldn't be in the lineup right now. But Perfetti, Nemesnikov, Ehlers, that line is not clicking. The advanced stat, they need more from that line.
They need more. It's that simple. They need more from that line. They need more productivity from that line at 5-on-5, and something obviously the Jets are going to be worried about until they start to get it. 2-0 at this point in time, late in the first period. The Ducks cut into the lead at the 18:58 mark. So with 1 minute and 2 seconds to go in that first period, Leo Carlsson gets his 8th of the season, assist to Radko Gudas and Alex Killorn, and it's a real nice tip by Leo Carlsson here. The Ducks do a real good job of spreading the Jets out, moving the puck side to side, gaining the zone, and then Carlsson gets his stick on the Gudas shot, and to give it a 2-1 lead. It goes off the post, off of Hellebuck, and trickles over the line. Again, I'm looking at Cole Perfetti on this play. I don't love his awareness on this. I don't love how he plays this. I think he chases a little bit too much and then is a little bit late getting back to try and do anything with the Gudas shot. You need more from Cole Perfetti. And this was sort of one of those glaring mistakes, I thought. He had a few in the course of tonight's game.
Yeah, he's just kind of, again, I think a lot of problems happen when you have players that are stationary and seem to be out of place and they don't know what their assignment is, right? And I think that's what you're talking about here, Drew. And Perfetti is a little bit lost. And Carlson starts the playoff, like you mentioned, by gaining the zone. He's a fantastic player. He really is. And it's Radko Gudas, who we talked about, had a game tonight. And it's a beautiful tip. But again, to me, like, it's easy to say this on this goal, but it's late in the first period, and the Jets were a little bit flat-footed. They were a little bit puck watching, is kind of how I would describe this goal. And they were kind of running around, scrambling in their own zone, and I would agree with that. And I mean, that's something that that the Jets coaching staff is going to be harder on Perfetti, the defensive side of the game, right? Because everybody knows what he did in junior. Everybody knows his offensive capabilities, his offensive ceiling. Like, I think people might disagree with this, but I think Perfetti's a guy that's got like 60, 70 point upside. You forget he's only 22, 23 years old, right? And again, that's just my own personal opinion, but I think, you've seen flashes of it, but you haven't seen it on a consistent enough basis. And that's what we're talking about here. If you're going to be a second line winger on a Stanley Cup contender, which the Jets are, I don't care what anybody says, you've got to be better in your own zone, and you've got to produce more offensively. And I agree with you on this play. I just thought there was too much watching. And again, DeMello's there. We're just watching the replay. DeMello's there. It's a nice tip. It's a nice tip by Carlson.
Right.
And so you give the Ducks credit for that. But there's definitely, I think, room to be a little bit tighter in your defensive coverage there.
Right. If Perfetti's tighter to Gudas, maybe the shot doesn't come through, or things of that nature. It's not as easy. He drifts a little bit too low in the zone. I think when they gain the zone, he gives up a little bit too much space, and then is late getting back up there. 2-1 after 20 minutes for the Winnipeg Jets. The Anaheim Ducks tie it up at the 6:52 mark of that second period.
This is one that Hellebuck's going to have nightmares about this one.
This isn't one that typically goes in for Hellebuck. Troy Terry, his 12th assist to Ryan Strome and Brian Dumoulin. And the Ducks win a puck battle on the blue line. It's, Dumoulin actually wins the puck battle from Velarde and from Kyle Connor. Strome comes in, picks up the loose puck, and feeds it over to Troy Terry, and it's a quick on and off his stick, a one-timer for Troy Terry, and Connor Hellebuck is moving side to side here, but this isn't one that typically gets through him. This is a goal that typically he does not give up. Good on the Ducks winning that puck battle. The Jets shouldn't, Brian Dumoulin shouldn't beat both Gabe Velarde and Kyle Connor on a wall battle in this instance. But the Ducks get it, and they get the reward of a bit of a weak one on Connor Hellebuck.
I can't think of another word aside from weak at the moment, Drew, and you're absolutely right. Connor and Velarde are both on the boards with Brian Dumoulin, and they just lose the battle. And then Strome makes a nice little pass because Pionk has come out to challenge, and now Pionk is kind of going the other way, and it's a nice pass by Strome, but it's a save that Hellebuck makes 99.9% of the time. Yeah. So it's sloppy on the zone exit, and it's just a weak goal on Hellebuck. And again, whether you're playing the Anaheim Ducks or you're playing the Florida Panthers, if you make those types of turn the puck over like that, and you allow weak goals, it allows teams to get back in the game. And like we talked about, even though the second period wasn't, a fantastic period for the Jets, I thought they still had control of the game for the most part. Yeah. And now you're tied 2-2, and it's anybody's game, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, it was, again, the Anaheim Ducks did not have a high danger chance. If you believe natural stat trick, at 5-on-5, the Ducks did not have a high danger chance in the second and third period and overtime of the game, or I guess the second and the third periods. So they did not have one high danger chance after the first 20 minutes of tonight's game.
Well, and in other words, the Jets had 12, the Ducks had 5 total at even strength. The whole game was played at even strength, aside from the one Jets power play.
Well, 2. They had 2 power plays.
Or sorry, 2. That's right.
Yeah, 2 power plays, and the power play did
I'm
not
still trying to
succeed.
figure out, Drew, who was taking the face-offs on the, like, I watched the entire game. I'm still trying to figure out who was taking the face-offs on the Nemesnikov line. I realized that Lowry and Nemesnikov switched, but Perfetti, I can't remember Perfetti or Ehlers taking any face-offs. Anyways.
Lowry took 15 draws in tonight's game. David Gustafson took 5. Scheifele took 9. Nino Niederreiter and Cole Perfetti, they each took 4 draws. Nino Niederreiter went 4 for 4. Cole Perfetti went 0 for 4. So I guess Perfetti took the majority of the second line draws in tonight's game.
There would have been much more than 4 draws, though. I mean, yeah,
Not
I guess
for that second line. I guess if you have Lowry out here, Lowry took 15 of the draws, and Scheifele took the 19 of the draws. So
I guess I must have not noticed that Lowry was taking faceoffs before the third period for the second line, and then he must have been going off. But regardless, very odd. It's kind of similar to when Scheifele was playing wing. Right?
Yeah,
that's kind of the situation you have now. Nemesnikov's not taking faceoffs. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And we'll talk about it on the Saturday morning show, but it's going to be interesting to see what they do if they continue to go with Nemesnikov up the middle on the second line, just not taking faceoffs or what have you. But not the best line, not the best night, pardon me, for the Nemesnikov line.
Yeah.
And again, give the Ducks credit. They were pesky. They erased the 2-goal lead, and then we obviously know what happened later with them winning in overtime. But I was impressed by the Ducks tonight. I was watching that game thinking, like, are the Jets not playing well, or are the Ducks playing really well, and are they being goalied? Like, I think a lot of those things, or all of those things, can be true. I think the Ducks played well. I think Gibson was good, and I think the Jets played pretty well. Again, it's hockey at the end of the day. When you're in a tie game situation late in the third period, exactly.
2-2 after 40 minutes. The Jets take what looks like it's going to be the game-winning goal. They score it at the 17-16 mark of the third period, so 2 minutes and 44 seconds to go. Alex Iafallo gets his 6th of the year, assist to Nino Niederreiter and Josh Morrissey. It's a wraparound goal after a real nice cycle by the Winnipeg Jets. They have control of the puck in the Anaheim zone. They had this on a few different occasions in the course of tonight's game where they had handoff shifts in the Ducks line. The fourth line, I think, twice handed off to the first line. And the Jets had good possession and had good opportunities. This is one where it's, the Jets get the puck. They're moving it around the zone. It's going high to low and low to high. Morrissey down to Niederreiter. Niederreiter walks into the line. He fires it towards the net. It goes wide. Alex Iafallo picks it up off the end boards and wraps it around and tucks it behind John Gibson to give the Jets the 3-2 lead with a little less than 2 minutes and 45 seconds to go in the third period.
Drew, you mentioned low to high, high to low. Like this to me was just great work by Nino Niederreiter. I mentioned him earlier. He ended up with 6 shots on net. I had to double check to make sure. I knew that he had at least 3 or 4, but it's just great work by Niederreiter, shielding the puck behind the net, getting it back up to Morrissey at the point. And then again, just putting the puck on net, and Iafallo getting a greasy goal, going to the net, scoring a wraparound goal. We've talked about that. You don't see a lot of wraparound goals in today's NHL, but the Jets will take it. And like I said, you're sitting back, and I'm sure a lot of Jets fans in the building or watching at home on their couches were thinking, okay, that's the game, right? This game's over. The Jets, this could have gone to overtime, but they score with less than 3 minutes left. But obviously the Ducks had other plans. But you love to see Iafallo with a goal and an assist tonight. At least I was really happy for him, because he's a guy, let's be honest, that fourth line. And I thought, we didn't even talk about Morgan Barron, I don't think, tonight. I thought he had a good game.
I mentioned he had a good game, I thought.
Okay, you did. I guess we're, almost 40 minutes in here, Drew. So I'm forgetting, I'm maybe going a little bit senile in my early 40s here, but
not too senile, I hope.
Yeah, no, I'm not too senile, but I think that, that it's nice for him to get the bump up, and it's just nice to see him performing, producing, I guess is a better word, on the third line. So I thought Iafallo was great tonight, and that's good for the Jets, because like we talked about, they're having some struggles with that second line, but the third line is coming through, or 2B, whatever you want to call it.
Ducks answer back. Kudos to the Anaheim Ducks. They don't go away. It only takes them less than a minute. 54 seconds later, the Anaheim Ducks tie the game up at 3 goals apiece. The Jets cannot clear their own zone. The Ducks pull John Gibson. He's on the bench for the extra skater. The puck goes from Troy Terry down below the Winnipeg Jets net. Out it goes to Frank Vetrano at the point. He feeds it over to Radko Gudas, and Gudas has a bomb of a shot. This one, I think, was clocked, I believe I saw on the broadcast, at 95 miles an hour. And both Jacob Trouba is providing a screen, and unfortunately for the Jets, so is Cole Perfetti. He doesn't get out close enough to Gudas to interfere with the shot, so instead he provides a second layer of a screen. Looks like Connor Hellebuck doesn't see it, beats him blocker side, and the Ducks have tied it up at 3 goals apiece. You need better defensive zone play from the Jets in this instance. You need to be, for them to be just a little bit tougher and a little bit tighter to their men to prevent the Ducks from getting the tying goal with a blast from the point.
Well, and this is like when you talk about Cole Perfetti, he comes out, but he turns and he doesn't, like, he's got to do a better job. Exactly. He's got to do a better job of making himself bigger and facing Gudas and blocking the shot.
Well, I also think on this, if you watch this play develop, it's clear what they're trying to set up. They're trying to set up the shot from Gudas at the point. But what does Radko Gudas not have? He doesn't have great lateral movement. He doesn't have great speed. So you can be a little bit
pressure him.
You got to be pressure him.
Yeah.
You can be a little tighter against him here, and you're not really that worried that he's going to burn you, by walking around you or anything. So you got to be a little bit, closer to him, a little bit tighter to him to prevent the big blast from coming off of his stick here. Instead, the Jets don't do that, and he's able to do exactly what he wants to do, which is his first goal in something like 65 games, they said on the broadcast.
Well, and again, we do these post-game shows after every Jets game, obviously, and it's easy once you're watching the replay. But, Trouba is like, if you want to just dumb this down and simplify the goal down, I don't think Hellebuck sees it. And it's right, because the way he's tracking the puck, I'm not, I'm being Captain Obvious by saying that Trouba provides a good screen for the tying goal. But Logan Stanley's out there, and if whether it's him or somebody has got to move Jacob Trouba out of the way, right? Like, so again, we're nitpicking maybe a little bit here, but it's a good shot with a good screen. But I think, that's again one of these types of goals where the Jets coaching staff is gonna show them this on video and say, okay, we got to close the gap a little bit and make it a little bit harder. Move Trouba out of that slot. Let our goalie see the puck.
Make the play behind the net before it gets out there. Logan Stanley got a little bit exposed, and I thought Logan Stanley, for the most part, had a pretty decent game tonight.
I agree.
On the Logan Stanley scale, I thought that he had
the Stanley meter.
Yeah, on this, exactly. I thought he was actually pretty decent, except in this instance, he loses a puck battle behind the net, and then it eventually makes its way out there. So just a lot of sort of small breakdowns contribute to the Winnipeg Jets loss in tonight's game. 3-3, they go into overtime. A lot of possession really by the Jets after the Ducks had the initial blast of it. Nikolai Ehlers has the win on his stick, and John Gibson makes a big save. Cole Perfetti has possession. He loses possession on his net drive. The Ducks transition up the ice. It's actually John Gibson gets the only assist on this goal. It's
old
2-on-1. Sorry, what'd you say, Ezzy?
It's old school. You don't see a lot of goalie assists anymore.
Not that often. Troy Terry comes down. Morrissey's the defender. It's Terry and it's Jackson Lacombe coming in on the 2-on-1, and Terry beats Connor Hellebuck blocker side. I think if I recall correctly, there was 3 goals that beat Connor Hellebuck. Or I guess not 3 goals. 2 goals that beat him blocker side in today's game. Good shots by a really good player in Troy Terry, and the Ducks escape Winnipeg with a 4-3 overtime victory.
Drew, you asked me at the top of the show about the Perfetti, goal drive, the net drive, I should say, not goal drive. And I mean, I'll defend him here and say that I like that he's got that killer instinct. I like that. Like, you always like to see guys driving that. The only problem is he wipes out, takes Gibson out and the net out, and then he's completely out of the play. and that's the reason why the Ducks go back on a 2-on-1, right? So, I mean, again, I think, we can be critical of players too, but I'm just going to stand up a little bit for Perfetti and say that I like that he was going to drive the net. But again,
look, I understand that you want to make something happen. I just don't love I don't know that I love that decision at that exact moment.
Sure.
I don't know that there's really an opportunity there. I appreciate trying to do something and trying to make a play, but I just don't see the play there. I see that as more a hero ball than really trying to use your line mates and use Adam Lowry and use Josh Morrissey, who are on the ice with you at that time. I just don't know that you're reading the play properly there if you think that there's an opportunity. I just don't see I don't see the path. I understand trying to do something and you get it to the net and maybe a goal mouth scramble happens, and I get all that, but we know that in overtime the most important thing is keeping possession. And if you have possession, good things should eventually happen for you. I just don't know that I love the decision making there. I understand it, but I don't know that I love it. But gentlemen, like one another, we can agree to disagree on that one.
Well, the Jets get burned, right? And just watching the replay, it does look like, even if it's for half of a second, it does look like Lowry kind of stops because the net's off. And I'm not saying that Lowry doesn't know the rules or thought that the whistle should blow, but that's all it takes, because if you watch the replay, Lowry gets on his horse and he gets back into the play. Like, he's skating hard, but it's almost that half second that Perfetti slips, the net goes off.
The ref was about to blow it. The ref was ready to blow it, but then he saw that Anaheim had clear possession,
right?
And so that there's not a need to blow it in that instance, or the rule dictates that you don't blow it in that instance. So I understand what you're saying there. I don't know that I love Lowry's read there either. After Perfetti tries his net drive, I don't know that there's an opportunity there for Lowry either. To try and get a loose puck, and he puts himself a little bit in a bad position as a result there.
Well, like you said, when you have the ideal players that you want out there for the Jets are obviously Scheifele, Connor, Morrissey, right? Yeah. Ehlers is another guy, but often that's kind of the A team in 3-on-3 overtime for the Jets. And what are they about? They're all about slow puck movement, waiting for their spots, trying to get an odd man situation to free up either Connor, Scheifele, or Morrissey, right? And so in this particular case, it was aggressive. And like you said, it was probably just not the right time to be that aggressive.
Yeah. I'm surprised Velarde also doesn't get an overtime shift, which I don't know that I agree with that. I wouldn't mind seeing Gabe Velarde out there in overtime a little bit more than say Cole Perfetti.
I don't really have a good reason why he wasn't out there.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, he's not a center, so you have to have he was a center, I should say, but he doesn't play center on the Jets. So that's obviously maybe one of the reasons why, because they wanted the pairs, right? You have Scheifele, Connor, I don't know. But regardless, it's 2 losses to the Ducks in 15 days.
Yeah.
And it's not going to necessarily affect the Jets standings. I mean, Dallas did pick up a couple points on the Jets. I think Minnesota did as well. Colorado lost. But I mean, this is the type of
Colorado hasn't lost. They're losing 4-3 with
I thought it was over
7.5 minutes to go. No, 7.5 minutes to go there. Minnesota won 4-3 in a shootout, and Dallas beat Ottawa 4-2. Yeah. You're right about that.
So they pick up a point, not 2 points. But still, I mean, it's going to be tight. I mean, we've been talking about this for weeks now. I mean, this is going to be a tight race. Even though the Jets started with that cushion of going 15-1, now some other teams are starting to catch up to them. And, I love it. It's exciting hockey.
There you go. Jets 4-3 losers tonight on home ice against the Anaheim Ducks. Connor Hellebuyck will have to wait, presumably until Saturday will be his next opportunity.
Well, he's obviously going to beat his home state.
That's what I was thinking. On Saturday, he gets the opportunity to face his home state, Detroit Red Wings, as the Jets' 8-game homestand continues. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, more on tonight's Jets and Ducks game. Drew Mandel, Ezra Ginsburg with you. It's the Illegal Curve post-game show. It rolls on this Thursday evening.
We want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling sites instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No. Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime, visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre. Holt Dental, the new official dentist of Illegal Curve, has a philosophy rooted in two unyielding principles: genuinely caring about patients and providing outstanding service. Being a patient of Holt Dental means more than just checkups and treatments. It's taking the time to listen and talk to each patient so they can achieve the best long-term health, functionality, and aesthetics for their teeth, mouth, and gums. Conveniently located at Grant Park Festival on Taylor Avenue, Holt Dental is dentistry of the highest quality in a comfortable and relaxed environment. For more information, visit holtdental.ca. Oh, and there's plenty of free parking at the front door, too. Celebrating its 40th year as Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best and most affordable live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For more information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal, starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
25 minutes before the top of the hour, welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show presented by Play Now. Drew Mandel, Ezra Ginsburg with you. Jets lose 4-3 to the Anaheim Ducks, kicking off this 8-game homestand that will last from tonight all the way through the 18th of January against the Calgary Flames. So a bunch of games in a row coming in downtown Winnipeg. Saturday is the next one. Saturday morning is the next edition of the Illegal Curve hockey show. I'll be there. Ezzy will be there. Dave will be there. We'll get you set for the Jets and the Detroit Red Wings later on Saturday night. So we can look forward to that coming up this coming weekend. And then, of course, the Illegal Curve post-game show will take place Saturday night right around 8:30, 8:45, give or take a couple of minutes either way there. Jets will look to take advantage of a weaker opponent in the Detroit Red Wings that they were unable to do tonight against the weaker opponent that was the Anaheim Ducks. So lots for the Jets to clean up tonight moving forward there, Ezzy.
Absolutely, and I'm going to play the role of Drew Mandel and mention a little bit of breaking news that isn't exactly relating to tonight's Jets-Ducks game, but our good friend Frank Zaravalli, who we've had on the show many times before, good friend of ours going back to the days.
This is about something about Jonathan Toews, is
Jonathan
that right?
Toews, and this has been something that's been rumored, but I'll let everybody else check it out on X. I just retweeted it, so if you follow me, you can see it, or just go to Frank Zaravalli's X account. But he mentioned that after Toews' 5-week healing journey in India, he is interested in coming back. He's been skating on his own. Frank Zaravalli mentions 3 teams that to keep an eye on. One of them is the Winnipeg Jets. The other 2 are the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Colorado Avalanche. So I'm not getting everybody's hopes up and saying that Jonathan Toews is going to, be the savior for the Jets and lead them to a Stanley Cup as the hometown boy. But all I'm saying is that
the hell of a
Frank Zaravalli's reporting that the Jets are a team to watch in terms of a team that might have interest in Jonathan Toews. Pretty interesting.
It certainly would be something. It would be a Hollywood story if you were to come back and play for the Winnipeg Jets.
He hasn't played in 2 full years, by the way. Drew.
Right. So you got to temper your expectations.
Right.
And even then, with all due respect to Jonathan Taves, even then he was, a shell of his former self.
Exactly. This isn't the Jonathan Taves from 2013-15, right?
No, this is not. So this is you got to temper your expectations. But for an 8 to 10 minutes night kind of guy, leading up into the playoff time frame, a guy who knows how to win come playoff time. It's an interesting conversation to have at the very least, and probably a conversation that we'll have in more detail on Saturday morning's edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. So in the interim, you can just sort of use that as a bit of a tantalizing taste for something to discuss before we get back together again on Saturday morning. Big thanks to all of you for joining us here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the channel, leave us feedback, tell us here, there, and everywhere what you think of the Illegal Curve post-game show and the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Big thank you to all of our sponsors. That's our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club. Lev Fair in town this weekend. 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday. Tickets available, rumorscomedyclub.com. Our friends at Play Now, they're the title sponsor. Holt Dental, Boston Pizza, City Place, and Seagram's. We are next at Boston Pizza on Wednesday, January the 22nd. The Jets are in Colorado to face the Avalanche. It's an 8:30 puck drop. Come join us for the watch party and the live on location broadcast of the Illegal Curve post-game show. That's coming up on Wednesday, January the 22nd. We will be there at Boston Pizza. And then 8 days before that, Tuesday, January the 14th, we will be at City Place for the special noon hour show. The Canucks and the Jets will do battle that night. Elias Pettersson, JT Miller, are they
will
friends?
also do
are
battle.
They foes? Maybe they'll be in fisticuffs in the middle of City Place while we're doing our broadcast. There's only one way to find out, and that's to join us live at City Place on Tuesday, January the 14th. We look forward to seeing you at all these live broadcasts. We look forward to seeing you back again on Saturday morning. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. For Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Until Saturday at 9 a.m., we wish you good night and good luck. Thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, follow at Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.